everyone, and welcome back to another amazing interview. So, tonight I'm interviewing Julia Wells from juliawellsness.com. Hi, Julia, and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, please tell us a bit more about yourself and what you do.
So, I am super excited to be here today talking to you about all of these juicy topics. I am a life coach for ambitious and driven women that are feeling really stuck where they're at in their life, whether it's career, where they're living, their relationships, and they can tell inside they're made for something more. They just can't figure out what that is, and they're feeling uninspired. So I help guide them through a process of doing that inner work so that it's not overwhelming and scary.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome because that can be overwhelming and scary.
Yeah, and we tend to just decide to put it off because nobody wants to deal with that.
Especially alone.
Yeah, it's so hard.
So it's good to have somebody that will, hold your hand through the process. So great. Exactly. So how did you start? How did you know that, oh my God, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life?
So I, don't know that I'm going to do this for the rest of my life because I'm going to keep growing and evolving as I go. But I had a really successful corporate career, and I was in that same position that I just talked about. I knew, on one hand, I could play this really safe route, keep getting promotions, know exactly where my life was going, and that I would be secure and taken care of. But I was really missing this sense of fulfillment, and I was really curious about what it would look like to find your passion and work in your passion. And I was pretty convinced that I didn't have anything that I was passionate about. But on the side of my career, I decided to go to school for health coaching because I had my own weight loss journey and transformation, and I just wanted to learn more. And when I got really burnt out in my corporate career, I just decided that I was going to try coaching and see if that was something I liked. And then through that process, I really refined exactly what I enjoyed, what my strengths were, how I could best serve people, and kind of what the conversations kept coming back to, which was this situation and feeling alone and not knowing how to go about making these big changes in your life and how scary it is. And I've now been the person that I wish I had back when I was leaving my corporate job and terrified about what that meant.
Oh, wow. Really good. So was it, I'm sure it was a bit scary when you started your own business and leaving the really good, good paying job to, you have no idea what, because you don't know when you're going to make money. So how did that go for you? Was it the whole transition between living, did you work on both when you started, like your job and your business? Or how did you go about?
I am one of those crazy people that just threw everything away and started my business full time. I don't necessarily recommend it for everybody, but I was just at a point that I was the way that I was in my career. I was so on all the time at work that by the time I could get home, I just needed to turn my brain off, and there was no way I could build a business on the side. It was just so draining. And part of that was just the level of work I was doing, but also doing something where you're not excited about it and you have to put on a happy face all day, because I'm not a miserable person, and people knew me as the positive person at work, even though internally I hated it. Every day I walked through the door, I was just ready to go. I counted down the minutes till 5:00. So yeah, I decided, I made the decision to use my savings and ask for help from the people I cared about and that were willing to help me support myself while I started a business. And I just hit the ground running and learned as much as I could and started figuring it out as I went.
So this was before you started IIN,
No, I had done IIN. I probably finished IIN about 6 months to 8 months before I quit my job, but I didn't. When I was going through IIN originally, I never expected that I would leave my job and coach. I kind of listened to a lot of the modules just from a knowledge perspective and what value I could gain, so that, because it was for myself, and it was the conversations I was having with friends who had seen me lose 30 pounds and just wanted more information. I was like, well, I don't know how to help you. So it's just naturally having these coaching conversations without ever thinking about the business side of it. And then when I realized that I needed something else to do, I just thought back and I was like, okay, I have a skill set. I have, the information I need to kind of start a business. And I used like their model of doing things until I could figure it out and tweak it to fit my personality better.
Oh, great, great. And how long did it take you to, have a website and have your first clients or make your first money after you decided, okay, today I'm quitting my job and tomorrow I'm starting fresh?
So it was probably, let's see, I quit my job in November of 2014, and I took all of December off to like spend it with my family and travel back home, since that was something I missed out on a lot. I work in corporate. And then January and February, I just coached people for free to get practice, and that really helped build my confidence. And then in March, I started B School with Marie Forleo, and that was when I got my first client. And I built my website and just everything else.
So during B School or after you finished B School? Because I did B School in 2015 as well.
Oh, yay. Yeah, during B School, I like met up with another woman that was a local in B School, and through talking, she referred me somebody, and that was my first client.
Awesome, awesome. So the power of connecting with amazing people just like you
Completely.
really pays off.
Yeah, and it was just through like talking about and sharing my story and what I liked helping people with. And she realized that she was a therapist and a life coach, and she had a client that she thought could use some additional support on the healthy living side of things. So yeah,
That's
started there.
awesome. That's awesome. So, I mean, you making sound a bit easy, like like I started this
No,
and then clients came by and so what were
no.
the blocks that you had to, go past and, deal with them when you started out?
So many, and it's so interesting to go back and look at where I've come, because it was by no means easy, and it's still not. It's just knowing why I'm doing it and what I get from this and how I can serve other people. But so one thing that was really hard is just being your own brand and putting yourself out there is really terrifying. And before, I always was on behalf of a company or somebody else, and now it was my stories. And every offer I put out, that was me. And if somebody didn't want it, I would think, oh, like there's something wrong with me, and it all tied back to me, 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 and it was so self-absorbed, right? But just realizing that the only way that I was going to get better at doing this is to just take action and keep going, and that I was going to make mistakes, but I was never somebody that had failed before. I had always kind of played it safe enough that it looks good, but I wasn't really taking big risks. So this now, having to share these things, and that was the way of really connecting with people and getting, I've learned now the best way is to just share and connect and be vulnerable and dig in with people. But at the beginning, like the idea of doing that just terrified me. So I would put one blog post out that was kind of personal, and I would get vulnerability hangover for like 2 weeks and run away from social media. And so that was really hard at the beginning.
And what about money blocks or money beliefs that you had to? Because especially when in our field of business, we make money, especially at this stage, through one-on-one clients. And that's not something you can really leverage, because sometimes you get a few clients a month, maybe next month you won't. And how does this work for you, and what were your biggest fears about this thing?
Yeah, I think, well, one, just like attaching value to your personal worth is really difficult. Because before, it's like you have a job description and it's very clear outline of like what you do and what you get paid for. And now, like once you get into coaching, people say like there's a lot of attachment to your worth and your pricing, which is ridiculous because you're not worth anything. You're priceless, but you have to attach some type of price. So figuring out how to align yourself with that is really difficult, and just believing in what you're offering and how much people are willing to pay for it. And it is like you do kind of have to test things out and see what feels good. And every time, you're like, okay, I'm booking clients, and then realizing that maybe you need to increase your price, and having those conversations and what that looks like, and the just, yeah, not knowing and being okay with being uncomfortable, and knowing that, I mean, you can either hustle for it, or you can, I think, I mean, you see people that will just throw anything at the wall to see what sticks and try to make money, which is one way of doing it. Or like, I just trusted that I was building a foundation on my values and what, you know, my core messaging was and what I wanted and how I wanted to feel. And that some months, like, we're just going to be slower than others. But I wanted to build a sustainable business and have a solid foundation. So that was the route that I took.
Awesome. That's really good. And I do believe that you better, start small and go slow, but at least,
Yeah.
Have a really good foundation, and just believe that one day, you'll have everything in place, and all the strategies or everything will just be perfect for you at that time.
Yeah,
And
and it's really hard because we see all of these people online that look like they blew up overnight, or they tell these stories of like, make this much money this fast, but like, everything is a game. There's so much smoke and mirrors that like, people are going to say like, oh, I started my business 6 months ago and I made X amount of dollars. Well, you could have had like 3 failed businesses before that. Who knows what else is going on? Who knows like how much you spent to make that much money? So you just have to like kind of put your blinders on and really know that if you invest the time and energy into figuring out who you are and how to build the business that best works for you around your geniuses, your strengths, and how you can best serve people, that those little actions will eventually get you the momentum to be bigger, like, and be sustainable, like people like Marie Forleo.
oh, I like this. I really like this. That's a
Yeah.
good advice. Because
Oh.
and actually some of my clients, after coaching with me, they hire their own business coach to launch
Mm-hmm.
their business and everything. And I'm feeling the vibe from them that, oh my God, okay, maybe I'll get my first client soon, but then what happens? Like, how long until I get my second client? Or what if I'm not gonna have enough time to deal with all the clients? Or there's so many,
Yeah.
like the fear of not getting enough clients. Then there's the fear of, oh my God, what if I do get 10 clients and then I don't have time
Yep.
to take care of them? So how do you relate to this?
Oh my God. I totally went through the exact same process. And that was something that I ended up hiring my own business coach to help me just really get clear on what my strengths were and how I want to build my business around myself. And I realized I was blocking myself, and that I didn't want to have like put myself out there too much, because I was scared to have all these clients that would take away my time freedom, which was one of the things I was really excited about when I started my own business. And so I basically put structures and systems in place to help me with that. So it sounds counterintuitive that having more structures and schedules in place would help. But by knowing like I only take clients on certain days, and I block out 2 days for like creativity and projects and connecting and different things, that gave me that sense of freedom again, knowing that I put something in place to protect a really sacred time to me, and like knowing that I would always have that freedom.
Good. So that's a good
Yeah.
idea. So if
Yeah.
we
Highly
allow
recommend that.
allow certain times for certain things, we can actually get more freedom instead of doing
Yeah.
everything every day and then not actually doing anything, because you get overwhelmed and you tend to procrastinate. You tend to.
Yeah. And that was a huge thing for me. I hated scheduling. Like, I never looked at a calendar. I did not like making plans, whether it was with friends or anything I was doing. It just like made me anxious because I thought it was taking away like my spontaneity, because I really prided myself on being someone that is spontaneous and goes with the flow. But I realized that the more I put that in place, it allows me to be like that, because then I know exactly when I have time for it, and I can respect those boundaries that I'm setting. And it really, really helped my business.
Wow, awesome. And now, because we were talking about building a business and everything,
Yeah.
are you a perfectionist? And if you are, how do you deal with it?
So, another excellent topic. I never considered myself a perfectionist. I kind of like put it in the type A box, and that was not how I was. Like I said, I'm very go with the flow, and um, it didn't bother me. But when my business became and my brand became me, and everything I did came back to me, I like started to have these perfectionist tendencies, and it was really just a way of protecting myself, because if I didn't put myself out there, I couldn't fail and I couldn't mess up and I couldn't make mistakes publicly. So I would just like, yeah, just get so obsessed in like whatever I was writing, whether it was like my website or blog posts or submitting guest publishing, and I would just like get crippled by it and never put anything out or offer anything, because I just like, that terrified me that it was all me. So now I'm just working through like done is better than perfect, and it's going to keep growing and changing. And that's what I've learned that from personal experience. And I also know like anyone that I follow and respect, they've all grown and evolved. And that's just like the natural progression. You would never want a business to stay stagnant. And it's going to take like learning things, what works and what doesn't work. And it's okay if it's not perfect. It can be scary, but you just have to go for it.
And people might judge, but that's
people
okay.
are always going to judge. Like, that is a fact. Like, I hate to break it to you, you're never going to be so famous or so great that people don't judge you. Mm-hmm. Like, there are people who hate everybody. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure there's people that hate Mother Teresa. Like, cool. Like, what are you going to do about it? You got to keep like serving your people and showing up and doing what you're here to do.
That's true. That's true. And I know a lot of people are scared of putting themselves out there, especially, what if I don't write correctly? What if my face is not pretty enough? Yeah. What if, I didn't put enough makeup today? Maybe I should, or maybe I should get a hairdresser, or maybe, all this thing. Right. That, because we are looking at all the people that have made it, and then we compare ourselves with them. And then we believe that in order to get their success, we should be, act, and look like them, which is, it's not real. You cannot look like somebody who's done this for years, and who knows how much paid for that to happen. And you're like, saving pennies and trying to be like that person.
Yeah, and you never know what's going on behind the scenes for them either. And people can look one way and behind everything just be falling apart, and you really just have to focus on yourself and doing what works best for you. And yeah, I think we are in a society now where it's like you have this super glam way of living that people are advertising and marketing it. But once you have it, and like the more like money and success and notoriety you have, like nobody wants it. It doesn't feel good to majority of people, right? Like they'll keep telling you, like, it's really taking it back to how you can help people and really showing up. And I think, like, yes, it's nice to see people that have these shiny objects and the perfect hair and their life looks amazing, but that just leads us into like a really negative spiral in self-talk. Whereas if you see somebody, like if you've read an article or seen a video where somebody is vulnerably sharing something really hard for them, it's like magnetizing, and you're so drawn to that person and you're so connected to them on a level that people are craving, because it just doesn't exist in our everyday life. And that is like, it becomes a new way of seeing like somebody as attractive or beautiful. But it's just so hard when like 99% of your day is being, taken up by this space of like the photoshopped, rented clothes, rented car, everything is just a front. So
that's true. Yeah, it's a lot about authenticity. And
yes.
And I love, and I think we are doing that. I think we're changing that. I think every bit of, every person that is like coach or are doing that now, and they're more vulnerable, and they especially if you learn from Marie Forleo, I think you become very authentic and you really like to spread your message in a way that really hits other people and also do good in this world. And that's, I think after B school we started, we were actually into donating but not a lot, and I think after B school we started doing it more regularly, and we did it in spite of having or not having money. It was not, we don't have yet enough money to do that, so we should wait until we have more money and then we should donate. And we did it anyways, especially I think she said once that whenever you don't have something, go and give it to somebody else. So, and we did that exercise a few times when we had no money, because were months when we had just not barely surviving, and then we went and we just gave away money, to homeless people or just to charities. And then things kind of started to move for us, and it didn't happen overnight. It didn't have like, you go now, you donate it, tomorrow you
Right.
get the money
You're not just
back.
going to wake up with a check.
Yes, it doesn't really work like that. But if we look back months after, I really see how good we've been, and I believe that we are blessed with all the things because we were able to do that in the beginning. So
Yeah, and it's
not
like the mindset of abundance, and it's just a
exactly,
continued practice.
exactly. Um, Also, I wanted to ask you something that a client asked me the other day, and it was, what is the best way, especially that she's almost something like us, is not a kind of a coach for parents, and where should people put their efforts to get clients when they're starting out, when they don't have
Such
a
a
strategy in mind or anything?
Yeah. I think so. Like, do you mean in terms of like what platform should you maybe focus on?
Not necessarily platform, but for example, I know a lot of people say, do that in the Facebook groups, or
Hmm.
do a workshop, or do webinars, or like, what do you think? What is your opinion on this? What do you suggest to people to do?
So I think there's really no right answer. And part of this is going to be like you figuring out your strengths and how you best connect with people, because that's what it comes down to, right? Like your sales are really just a direct reflection of your relationships. And so, how do you best build relationships? Do you need to get out there face to face? Can you do that online? Like, do you want a private forum of a Facebook group, or are you better on Instagram with just a very visual thing? And some of it is going to be trial and error. But I think, like, from my learning experience, like pick one or two things and really just focus on those. There's so many at this point that if you try to do them all, you will fail. Like it's not going to feel good. You're not going to enjoy your business, and people just don't know what to do. Yeah. So pick like one or two things. You could try one in-person thing, and you can try one social media platform and just dive in, put some obviously intentional thought into it beforehand, and then just see what happens and see if that's the right medium to connect with your people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. I like that. So how do you like to connect with people? And I'm like, good topic, good thing. Great.
Yeah, and I mean, you are who you are, so just own it. Like if you're an introvert and you'd rather be behind your computer screen, cool. Like find a way that works for you. I know plenty of successful people that have done that. I love in-person stuff, but I tried doing in-person clients and I hated it because it took away my freedom, right? I want to be able to work from anywhere. So then I had to learn like, okay, I'll do workshops so that I can schedule those in. I don't have to be here for an extended period of time to work with a client in person. So it's just like, it's going to take some figuring out, but knowing yourself and just getting real with it is really helpful.
Awesome. And now, because you like to talk a lot about action, how did you find clarity through action?
So it's really just, no matter what you're feeling, like you're going to have to keep moving through it to get clarity. So when you find yourself struggling or stuck or feeling down about something, take any action. Like, I don't care what it is, even if it was like the money thing, like you talked about, go donate some money or your time to somebody. If you're feeling like you're not getting enough clients, go donate some sessions and build your confidence back up, or figure out who you like working with and have the conversations, refine your message, do like we're doing. Like an interview is such a great way to practice talking about it, or just like go to a networking event, like do something, because that's what's going to move you out of where you're stuck every single time. Like it's scary, it's terrifying, it's uncomfortable, but as soon as you've done it, you're like, well, why was I so stuck for like weeks? Sometimes like weeks I get stuck on certain things, and then just like, you know what, you got to give up. And something I've like been working on that ties it back to that is, when you feel a struggle, you really need to look at like where you're attached to something versus where you're committed to something. So like I'm committed to serving these women, and when I get attached in how I want that to look, that's when I really find myself stuck and struggling. But when I just keep coming back to like my commitment, then the new ideas start flowing again, the conversations start happening, and the client relationships start building. And so it's just that action of like realigning yourself to what you're committed to.
That's a really interesting way of seeing things.
Yeah.
So it's like always look at your why. Like, why did you start doing
Yeah.
this? Why do you do this? So have your whys somewhere you can see them, so you don't get too attached, as you said, attached to whatever you're doing and you cannot move forward with.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you have something you're struggling with, like sit down right now and write down like what you're committed to and where you're finding yourself attached to how something should look and be. And this can be anything. Like it could be a relationship, it could be a business thing, could be anything you're like just struggling with. Just pick something and write those two things down, and then give yourself permission to move back to your commitment instead of how you think it should look.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, it's so good. Like so easy, but at the same time, like when we're in our own heads, like to pull yourself out of that place. Like here's my Post-it that goes on my computer. It says, am I being committed or attached? Like it's there all the time because there's so many things I just come up against when I think I want something to look a certain way.
So it's also a bit tied to perfectionism, when you want to.
Yeah, just like moving through things, because I'm like, okay, this video, like I thought, oh, I'm gonna have my hair done and like make it really great. No, like I have something I need to say, and that's more important than how I look. And time after time, like I've proven that to myself when I just like put something out there and connect with people. And sometimes like my prettier posts and all that like get no traction because people just are used to seeing that.
I see what you mean. Wow, great. And now, in the ending of this interview, what would be one advice that you would give to a woman who wants to have, be, and do more than, just a regular life?
I think it really comes down to, again, being clear on your why and who you are and how you want to feel, and always moving from a place of alignment.
Okay, and how should they start doing that if they have no idea, if now is the first time they've heard about it? So if you're out there and if the first time you're like, oh, well, should get clear on what, how should they start?
Yeah. So I think one of my favorite TED Talks is Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And that's a great place. Like he'll just bring up, every time I watch it, like something new comes up for me and you get this clarity. But you can even like take the target map that they make with your why, your how, your what, and write that down for you and like break it down and start looking into what that looks like for you and have conversations with other people. I think like that's, get out of your own head too. And that's super important. Even like, it doesn't have to be a coach. I mean, that they'll give you more structure, but talk to a friend or like have a call with someone or jump in a Facebook group with somebody that might have something in common with you, and just start being like, hey, can I talk through these things with people and see what comes up for you? And you'll get clarity through action.
True. Awesome.
Yeah.
I like this. And thank you so much for doing this with me and for accepting to be on this interview. It was really inspiring and really a lot of really good lessons. So
yeah, thanks for letting me share, and I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, great. So everyone, this was Julia Wells from juliawellsness.com. And if you want to know more, just go to her website, subscribe, and read her Work With Me page in case you're interested.
Yeah.
And learn more about her. So thank you, everyone, and see you next time. So this was our interview.